All right, the first thing I want to talk about tonight is I want to go through and show you some resources for APA. Basically, you should have taken a look last week at the model paper that I posted under last week's content. If you take a look here, I'll navigate to it. Go to content and go to week 12. In week 12, we have the OWL model paper. That's definitely something you should be taking a look at. The APA example you should have done at this point, but the OWL paper can also be found if you go to University of Purdue Online Writing Lab and follow the APA resource. So if you look over here, there's a whole bunch of APA guidelines. The first thing, I want to just start at the top, the basics. And so if you click here on the basics, it basically walks you through what overall APA citation looks like. And so I really encourage you to go through, take a look at all these different notes. You can read them as quickly as I can talk about them. So just take a look at them. If you have any questions about them specifically, let me know. But there's a lot of good information there. Scrolling down, this is where it gets into the meat of it. This shows you specifically, if you take a look here, how you would include a quotation into your paper. And so this is key. According to Jones, 1998, you notice that you put the date right after the author's name. Students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. And then the page number at the end. If you look here, you notice also that this period goes after the quote. I'm going to get to something here in a few minutes. Or I'm sorry, yeah. Quote ends, P period number, and then the final period ending the sentence. So that gives you a quick idea. This is another one. Jones, 1998, found students often had difficulty using APA style. So you can see at the end of the quote, even if it's not the end of the sentence, you would put in that page number. So for those of you who've used MLA, this is going to be a little bit different than the formatting style with MLA, although you should start to see some common similarities. Now, moving down, the next thing we have here is we have a long quotation. So a long quotation is different. Now, what qualifies as a long quotation? You can see here a long quotation is a quotation longer than 40 words. Now, to be honest, I don't want to see many of these in your paper. Maybe one, possibly two, but we shouldn't be seeing many quotes longer than 40 words. But if you have one, it's truly applicable. It will occur as its own indent. So I want to show you over here. I'm going to draw out this paragraph to show you what a long quote looks like. So you got your paragraph, you got your topic sentence, and then it continues, and you've got some background information, some lead up to your quote, maybe a few sentences. Okay, and now you're ready for your big block quote. Now, colon, and you notice there are no quotes here. No quotes because it's long, no quotes. So you put that colon, then you indent the same amount that you would indent here, and you put in what's called your big block quote. Multiple sentences over 40 words. And then you notice here the period, unlike the example I just showed you, the period goes here, and then you would put the page 199. Then after that, you would continue on with your sentence right across, or I'm sorry, with your paragraph right across here, leading on with your analysis and your concluding sentence. And so as you can see, this entire quote right here, that would be this, gets that indent and moved over. So make sure you think about how to incorporate these long quotes if you want to include them. All right, next example here, moving down, is how to summary or paraphrase. So a direct quote, once again, going up here, a direct quote is you're taking the words of your author and you're taking them directly. You're putting quotes around it. Now down here, you're taking a paraphrase. Now, something that's important to note is a paraphrase. This is a word that means written in, writing in your own words. Now, just because you put something in your own words does not make it yours. So, idea here is that an idea equals intellectual, I'm spelling this wrong, intellectual, an idea, I'm having problems with my pen, equals property. You can't steal other people's ideas, even if you put them in your own words. So if you take a key idea or an important idea, you have to give them credit and you have to put your citation at the end. So let's take a look here at how they do that. So according to Jones, 1998, APA style is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. There we go. Now here's another way you could do it. Let's say you don't want to reference Jones' name in the beginning. So this is example 1 for a paraphrase. This is example 2. APA style is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. All right, we put Jones, the author's name, we put the year that it was published, and then we put the page number, and then we put the period. Once again, as you can see up here, the period goes before the citation. Now, giving you guys a little idea, you're probably saying, I don't know where to put periods. I can completely understand. If you look in this particular case, in any time you're using a block quote, the period goes before the page number. When you're using it within a single paragraph, the period goes after the quote, or after the page number, I'm sorry. Okay, next thing here, going back out and taking a look at other APA citation. Remember, this is the formatting guide for APA. So you have in-text citations, author or authors. This is an important one to take a look at. Go through, look at all this. Again, I'm not going to walk you through this, but this shows you how to do multiple authors. If you have multiple authors here, you use et-al. Et-al is Latin for and others. So this means that there are others contributing. So if you look here, this is Kearns, or Kernus, I'm sorry, we're missing, I'll erase that. We've got Kernus here, but really it's Kernus, Cornell, Sun, Berry, and Harlow. Those are the last names. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different authors who are contributing, but you don't want to write all those authors' names every time you have to include an in-text citation. So you use this, Kernus et al. And others, 1993. So that's how you do it for lots of authors. If you have more authors, you can see 6 or more authors. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of rules for each different situation. So you're going to want to go through and look at these. Authors with the same last name, how do you handle it? 2 or more works by the same author. Let's say you find one author that wrote 2 really great journal articles. You want to include both journal articles. Well, how do you cite that source when you got 2 articles? Well, here you go. Check it out. Personal communication. So this would be if you would have an email, an interview, something like that with a person. Indirect sources, electronic sources, it goes on. So as you can see here, moving down, you'll then talk about footnotes, endnotes, reference lists, basic rules. Okay, so reference lists, if you take a look here, I'll get the pen. If you take a look here, all of these are rules about your reference list at the end of the paper. So these are really useful resources because you want to make sure that that reference list you have is completed properly. So basically this right here is the basic rules for any type of source that you're going to be citing. It'll just go through the basic rules. What do you need to do? Again, I highly encourage you to read this. Taking a look here, reference list, if you have authors, if you have articles in the periodical, a periodical is another word for paper. If you have books, so let's say you have a book, and because you have a book, you found this book in the library or on Google Books, and it didn't give you a nice APA reference to put on your reference page, you're going to need to go and look here as to how you would format these, and these will walk you through what the formatting looks like. So go check this out if you've got books. Many of you are probably going to have different types of electronic sources that may not fit neatly into any of the other categories. Well, if you look here, this will show you online scholarly articles, journal articles. If they have DOIs, a DOI is it's an document object identifier, I believe is the acronym that stands for. And so DOIs are numbers. If you look here, scroll down, this will show you, this would be the DOI right here, would be the document object identifier. It's a number. It's like a barcode for a document, so you can always find it. And so if you have that number, here it is, you can use that to cite your information. If you don't, however, you may need to continue scrolling down through this list to look at the other options. an article from an online periodical with no DOI assigned, an article from a database, which is how many of you are going to be accessing your articles, an abstract, a newspaper article. Now, these are all, as we know, looking at the top here, these are all electronic sources, so web publications. So let's say you go to the Wall Street Journal, but you go to the Wall Street Journal online. Well, this is how you're going to end up citing one of these examples. We'll show you. Here you can say the top one shows you what the information is: author, year, month, date, title of article, title of newspaper, retrieved from, and then here's an example of actually put into implementation. So you're going to want to look at that. All right, for those of you who are using electronic books are here. Kindle books, chapter or section of a web document or an online book chapter, online book reviews, it goes on and on. You can look through that then. So that's just for electronic sources. All right, so after we get out of the sources, we move into the APA, if you look here. So these are all reference sources, starting from here down to here for the reference page. Good stuff. There's additional sources. There's types of APA papers, APA style guides, basics, headings and serrations, PowerPoint slide presentations. And then here's that sample paper. If you want to include a table or a figure at the end of your paper, this will show you how to do it, how to handle abbreviations in APA, how to use statistics in APA, and then there's some other stuff at the bottom. Once again, everything is here that you need in order to properly apply APA to your paper. I encourage you to spend some time looking at the sample paper. When you click on the sample paper here, it takes a moment to load. But once it loads, when you look through the sample paper, I want your paper to look very much like the sample paper. I want you to have an abstract, a title page. On your title page, I want it to be properly formatted. And then after the title page, you need to have an abstract page. And then after the abstract page, you would begin writing your paper. Now, for those of you who want to chunk your paper up real carefully, you may want to look at the headings and serrations. Headings, basically you have 5 different layers of headings that you can use in your paper. And so this guide right here will show you how to use level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. I'm sorry, these are all level 3. And then you get down to here, level 4 papers, headings. If you want to use headings, you may. You're not required to use headings. I think for the length of this paper, most of you would have a hard time getting past level 1 and level 2 headings, but take a look, see how it applies. You can also see some examples of headings in that model paper. All right, that's all for this movie. This is all about OWL. Take some time, learn it, study it, know it. If you have any questions about it, let me know.